Finance Minister Mathias Cormann joins us in a moment. But first, here's the Shadow Home Affairs Minister, Kristina Keneally, questioning whether the government has changed its position on New Zealand and their offer to resettle 150 refugees.
The Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, and the Minister for Home Affairs, Peter Dutton, have repeatedly ruled out doing a deal with New Zealand. I think there's a genuine question to be asked here. Has the Australian government, has the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, changed his government's policy? Has he done a backflip? Is he now going to accept the New Zealand offer to take refugees off Manus and Nauru? And has he done that in order to secure Senator Lambie's support for the repeal of Medevac?
Mathias Cormann, welcome to Insiders.
Good morning.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Has the Prime Minister given Jacqui Lambie an assurance that the government will take up New Zealand's resettlement offer?
Well, let me be very clear in response to that question that Kristina Keneally put there. The government has not changed any policy on border protection or resettlement arrangements or anything else in order to secure Jacqui Lambie's vote. What we have done in response to issues that Jacqui raised with us is provide detailed classified briefings to ensure she was fully across what the government was doing and why. And at the end of that process, clearly, Senator Lambie was satisfied with what the government was doing and was satisfied that the repeal of the Medevac laws was necessary.
I understand there was more than detailed security briefings. There was also a letter from the Prime Minister to Jacqui Lambie laying out the conditions, as she said, that that they've agreed upon. She said she's more than satisfied with the conditions. Did that letter contain an agreement that the Australian government would agree to and seek to activate the New Zealand deal?
Well, that is not quite what she said, so I think there's a level of verbal...
No, that was a quote.
Well,
she said, I'm more than satisfied that the conditions are now in place to allow Medevac to be repealed.
Well, because of the detailed information and the detailed briefings she received, so she was certainly satisfied. That's certainly true. We did provide Senator Lambie with information. Of course we did, and I mean that's a matter of public record. But let me say again, we have not changed any policy or in relation to border protection or resettlement arrangements or anything else in order to secure Senator Lambie's vote. Now, when it comes to resettlement arrangements, it's a matter of public record that our focus is on resettling, people from Nauru to the United States. That those resettlement arrangements with the United States were undermined by the existence of the Medevac laws, something else that we were able to explain in some detail. Our commitment is to continue to pursue resettlement arrangements in a way that doesn't start the boats coming again. We are committed to pursuing resettlement arrangements in a way that doesn't undermine our strong border protection arrangements, and that is also something that we explained in some detail.
All right, we've heard that many times, but we're still not clear what it is that Jacqui Lambie has heard that absolutely satisfied her. Let me ask it this way. Is it current government policy to accept the New Zealand resettlement offer if the lifetime ban bill is passed? Is that government policy?
It's current government policy to resettle people from Nauru and to resettle as many of them as possible.
Sorry to interrupt you, Minister. It hasn't been government policy in the past to accept the New Zealand deal. In the past, the Home Affairs Minister, Peter Dutton, has said that was a bad option. It was a backdoor. It would give the green light to people smugglers. So is it currently the government's position to accept the New Zealand offer on the proviso that the lifetime ban bill is passed?
It is currently the government's position, as it has been all the way through, to resettle people from Nauru in a way that doesn't give the green light to people smugglers, that doesn't start the people smugglers sending people to Australia again. And so we are totally focused on resettling people to the United States. These were arrangements that were severely undermined by Labor's bad Medevac laws. And indeed, I mean, that is our focus. Now, obviously, I mean, we've always said that any resettlement arrangements that Australia pursued have to be pursued in a way that doesn't start that terrible people smuggling business again.
I understand that. You've told that us several times, but let me ask you then, if you can tell me your view, do you think the New Zealand resettlement offer would restart the people smugglers, would send a green light, or does the government not have that view anymore?
Well, my view is the government's view, and that is that we should resettle people in the United States. That is the agreement that we have reached.
And not in New Zealand?
United States. Well, I mean, again, my view is that we need to continue to pursue resettlement arrangements in a way that obviously protects the integrity of our borders, and that is what we have been doing. That is what we will continue to do into the future. And
Minister,
there's been no change.
Everyone listening and watching can hear that you're not going to the New Zealand option. What is the secrecy about? I mean, Jacqui Lambie said she, for national security reasons, couldn't explain to the Senate why she's decided to repeal the bill. What is the secrecy, so secret that members voting on this bill in the Parliament don't know the terms of it and the public don't know what their elected officials have agreed to?
Well, Fran, it's very simple. I mean, there's a reason for classified information, and the reason some information is classified is to protect our national security. And we as the government took Senator Lambie into our confidence and provided her with classified information. Of course, she's not then at liberty to divulge that classified information. We're very grateful to Senator Lambie that she has respected the nature of the information that she's been provided, because to do otherwise would be putting Australia's national security and border integrity at risk.
All right, one last go on this.
Quite rightly, Senator Lambie has agreed not to do that.
One last go on this. Are there national security issues in accepting the New Zealand resettlement offer?
Well, whatever we do in terms of resettlement arrangements has to be pursued in a way that doesn't start the boats coming again. And that is something that we've explained in some great detail to Senator Lambie and to others. And so we have not, I say it again, we have not not agreed to any policy change on border protection, on resettlement arrangements, or on anything else in order to secure Senator Lambie's vote. The only thing that we have done is to provide her with an undertaking that we would continue to implement the government's policies unchanged.
Minister, let's turn to the economy. This week we got the latest national accounts. The government has pumped billions of dollars of tax cuts into the economy during the last quarter, and yet growth slowed in that quarter. That wasn't the expectation. What went wrong?
Well, growth over the 12 months to the end of the September quarter increased slightly.
But it slowed in the last quarter.
And growth in the September quarter this year was slightly higher than growth in the September quarter last year.
But it was slower than the previous quarter.
And of course the previous quarter was upgraded, retrospectively upgraded to 0.6%. The point here is the Australian economy continues to grow. Other economies around the world are shrinking. Our economy continues to grow despite the significant global economic headwinds. And I would put it to you this way: our economy today remains stronger than it would have been if at the last election people had chosen $387 billion in higher taxes as was
Minister,
what
I would put
was
it
proposed
to you this way: the growth is positive, but it's slower than forecast, significantly slower than forecast. And when we spoke on this program 3 months ago, you said then it was too premature to consider the impact of $15 billion of income tax refunds. That's your quote. 1 quarter on, the verdict is in, isn't it? It's now clear they didn't pack the punch you were hoping. So what measures is the government considering?
I disagree with you. Firstly, in the September quarter, there was the growth in disposable income of 2.5% was the highest growth in disposable income in more than a decade.
Yes, because people got tax cuts and interest rate cuts.
Disposable income has increased by more than 5% over the year. And we are confident that over time that will contribute to a strengthening in the economy. I mean, indeed, if you look across the spectrum, lower interest rates, lower taxes, continued high investment in infrastructure, pick-up in the resources sector, stabilisation in the property market, very high participation rate, record female participation rate, and indeed the real wages growth at the long-term average. I mean, all of these things combined will help us continue to strengthen the economy moving forward. And indeed, I mean, in this last fortnight, we have legislated another free trade agreement, well, 3 free trade agreements with Indonesia, Peru and Hong Kong, which will help our exporting businesses get better access to markets around the world. This is a discussion
we've been having in the context of stimulus, and that's come from comments, a number of comments now from the Reserve Bank Governor. Yes, people have higher disposable income. They've had interest rate cuts and mortgage rate cuts, but they're not disposing of it. Do we have time to wait? Because the figures have shown us recently unemployment going up, growth slowing, retail spending at record lows, wages and productivity low, if not stalled. Is there time to wait? Or should you be now considering other measures?
Well, employment growth continues to be stronger than the long-term average, continues to be stronger than what is in our budget forecast.
Do you think people are feeling that, Minister?
You're being a bit well, look, I mean, I think that what people understand is that there are issues in the global economy. There have been successive downgrades in the global economic growth outlook, and that has implications for Australia.
Right.
And indeed, I mean, one of the reasons I suspect why people are increasing their savings rate in order to strengthen their personal position for the future is because of their perception of what is happening in the world. And so, of course, I mean, but again, I mean, Australia comparatively, if you look at it in an international context, continues to perform comparatively well. Our economy continues to grow when many others are shrinking.
Minister, as we have this conversation, we're heading into summer. There's currently more than 100 bushfires burning around the country. How is the government planning to respond to this unprecedented fire season in terms of more resources, more support for people? And what do you say to all those Australians who are frightened now by what's going on around them?
You know, look, I mean, we are providing all of the support we can to support the efforts, you know, in various states where bushfires are taking place. I mean, it's obviously...
Is that it? There's not a special package plan? There's no announcement coming?
Well, I mean, you know, obviously, if and when additional support is required, then of course we would consider that. But right now, as we speak, you know, we've obviously planned for this bushfire season, and we've put significant measures in place, and we've put significant measures in place for the future too, to better address, you know, these sorts of emergencies into the future.
Mathias Cormann, thank you very much for joining us again on Insiders.
Always good to talk to you.